In this CSS video, we're going to be talking about aligning image and text in the same div. Okay, so as you can see here, I have a div ID of main, and inside this div I also have a paragraph, and inside this paragraph I have an image. You can see this image over here, and this is the huge paragraph. We have the huge paragraph, and this is the closing paragraph, and this is the closing div tag. Okay, now you have seen everything here. Okay, so now let me go over to our CSS to see the stylings. Now this is our div ID of main. I gave it a background color, a color of white, and a padding of 10 pixels, and also a margin of 20 pixels. So let's go over to our web page and see how this looks. Now you can see this is our image and this is our text beneath it. Now this is the default way. This is because why we have this image on top of our text. This is because by default HTML position everything in a top-down order. Okay, that is why this image is on top of our text over here. So what we want to be doing in this video, we want to align this image and the text properly. Okay, we want to position them side by side. Okay, and the property we use to do that is the float property. Now I know we have seen the float property before, but we are still going to be using it in this video. Okay, so let's go over to our styles.css. now let's switch to our index.html. Now because we are going to be styling this image, let's give this image a class. Okay, because we are going to be styling it, so give it a class of, we're going to give this a class of image. We're going to call it simply image. Now let's go over to our style sheet. Now say remember it's a period, we're going to use period for class. Say image. Now let's style this. Now like I said, we are using the float property, and we are going to float this left. Now I know this might look strange, but we are floating this left. Now let's go over to our web page so I can explain this. Now before I refresh this page, I want to explain this. Now you might be asking yourself, why are we floating this image left when it's already on the left hand side? Okay, now this is because we are floating this image left because when using float, by floating this image left, since it's already on the left hand side, by floating it left, this text underneath this image will be moved to the right hand side of the image. Okay, so that is how the float property works. By floating this image to the left, this text underneath the image will come to the side of this image over here. It will come to this empty space. It will take over this empty space. So that is how the float property works. So I know it might be confusing, but that is how it works. Okay, so now if we refresh this, now you can see this text now is side by side with the image, but you can see underneath the image we still have some text. Now we want to make sure this text is positioned on the right hand side of the image. Now to do that, to remove this text down here, we need to use the margin button to be able to shift the text to make sure it's positioned on the right hand side. So let's go over to our style sheet now. Now we use the margin bottom. Margin bottom, since we are going to move this, we are going to be pushing that text more, we are going to be pushing the text. We are going to use a margin bottom of 300 pixels because we want to shift that text far away. I'm going to use a margin bottom of 300 pixels. So now if we refresh this now on our web page, now you can see the space. Now we have successfully pushed this text to the right hand side of the image. You can see how aligned now it is. So this space here is the margin bottom of 300 pixels. Okay, now you can see the space. So this text now is now positioned, is now shifted to the right hand side of the image. So now as you can see here, over here, you can see the text and the image, they are too close to each other. So we want to make sure, we want to create some space here so this will look neat. Okay, so to do that, we should use the margin right property. So say margin hyphen right. So let's give this a margin right of 15 pixel. Now let's refresh this. Now you can see now we now have a space between the image and the text, so you can see how neat this looks now. So that is how to align a text and an image inside of a div. You can see this is our div, this is our huge div we have here. You can see how everything now is aligned properly. Okay, so now let's go over to our index.html. Let me point out this thing here. So as usual, make sure you have an image inside of your project folder, as I have here. So make sure you have an image inside of your project folder. And one more thing, make sure your image is inside of your paragraph tag. Make sure it's inside the paragraph, as I have here. But make sure everything is inside your div element. But make sure the image is inside the paragraph. Okay, so you won't be getting strange results, because if you put this image outside of your paragraph, you might be getting strange results. So make sure it's inside of your paragraph. Okay, all right, that will be it for this video, guys. I will see you guys in the next video.